I remember us having conversations about maybe it would be Jay Inslee who'd abscond over to the Biden administration. Never thought it would be you. So can you understand the disappointment that some voters have in you leaving so soon after an election?
Oh, absolutely. And that's the very thing that made this decision very difficult. But, when I look at the last 30 years, what brought us here to Washington was service. My husband was in the Army as a Ranger, and we got stationed at Fort Lewis with the 2nd Ranger Battalion. And ironically, that's what's pulling us away is the opportunity to serve at the federal level and to serve my country. And it sounds very corny, but it is truly what's driving this. And what all of my supporters through the years have done is they've helped me get a very unique skill set and resume that is really what the country needs right now. We're under attack from foreign adversaries like Russia and China and Iran. We've got domestic actors who are undermining people's confidence in our elections. And my skill set, even among my peers as Secretary of State, is very unique. And I am going to be able to work with some of the best cyber minds in the country, help them navigate the election space and secure our country's elections in 22 and 24. And that's kind of more important than the election for this office.
We'll get into who the domestic actors are in a moment, but I talked to Caleb Heimlich, the chair of the Washington State Republican Party, shortly after the news became official. He told me that you had called him that morning and you told him the same thing, that you felt called to serve. How disappointed was he? Because you're the only Republican left in a position like this on the entire West Coast.
Mm-hmm. I think many Republicans were surprised and shocked and disappointed. And, I hope over time that they're going to understand it. But I think as the news is settling in, as people start understanding the job, I think they're going to understand that this is something our country needs, and I'm really excited to be able to serve in that role. But the politics of it are challenging, certainly.
Before we get into the job and what you're going to be doing, do you believe it was strategic that they chose you as a Republican Secretary of State? Given, I guess, the divides in the country over the elections?
I'm sure that factored into it. And, the director of CISA is, she has been nonpartisan her whole career. She was a military officer in the Army and a West Point grad. So her whole career is based on being, serving in a nonpartisan manner. And I think that it was not lost on the Biden administration that many Republicans believe that the election was stolen, and maybe putting a Republican in this position would help show their attempt to bipartisanship and really trying to focus on the bigger, D, the bigger democracy of, instilling confidence and inspiring confidence in the electorate that our elections are secure and that they're fair and accessible, the very things that we've really built here in Washington.
But at the same time, there's been Republicans in this state who've called you a RINO for a long time. And now when you took this job, they're like, we gotcha.
Oh,
you're
absolutely.
going to join the Biden administration. And they don't even believe that you're a Republican. What would you say to people who have doubted this entire time and now believe this is proof that that they can question your Republican bona fides?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, yeah. I'm sure they feel vindicated, and I'm sure that this is a smoking gun they were looking for. Ultimately, one of the great things about being elected for 20 years, being 59, you know who you are. And I'm a Republican since 1980 when Ronald Reagan inspired me. And he had principles that he adhered to and he lived his life by and led by. And that's what made me a Republican then, and it continues to be what makes me a Republican today. And, people are always going to say what they think. They fill in the blank. I've been called a left-wing liberal by some of my Republican counterparts across the country. I've been called a right-wing conservative by folks here at home, a RINO, Republican in name only. That just goes with the territory. And, ultimately, they can say whatever they want. It's not going to change who I am and how I lead and how I do the job. So I think over time, and I think history is going to show that this decision was the right decision at the right time, and you know, history, I think I'm on the right side of. So
you brought up something funny, which is, you know, you've obviously had Democratic challengers, and this is a seat they've been hungry for. And they always do call you, you know, they point to the fact that you're a Republican. They don't believe that's in line with the values of people of Washington State. Do you ever allow yourself to wonder what those same Democrats now think about you getting a job in the Biden administration? They can't really rag on you anymore, right? Because the president wants you to work for him.
I think it probably has knocked them off their center a little bit, and I definitely have gotten some congratulations from some of my harshest critics. So it's kind of fun. And again, you know, people are going to call you names or whatever, and you just let that roll off, and you keep being who you are, and over time it'll play out the way it should.